As you can see, my title is Vice President Transformation. What that basically means is NorQuest College is trying to become more responsive to the communities that we serve. And we are the largest comprehensive community college in Alberta. We serve Edmonton and the Capital Region, out to Drayton Valley, down to Wetaskiwin, up to Whitecourt, and over to Camrose. So we service about 1.1 or 1.2 million people. And we want to become, again, more responsive to our communities. And in order to do that, we know that we need to transform as an organization. So Jody brought me on a couple of years ago and said, work with me and help me do this. And one of the big stakeholder groups that we work with are First Nations and Aboriginal communities as well. So just a real quick overview on NorQuest College. As I said, we're the largest community college in Alberta. Lots of different programs and certificates. We focus on foundational training, English language training, healthcare programs are some of the key areas of focus that we have. We service about 8,500 full-time and part-time students at the college, which translates into about 4,100 full-time learners. I think NorQuest was probably one of the best kept secrets in the Capital Region. I worked at NAIT for many years, so just 6 blocks away, and I had to admit that I didn't really understand what the college did for the community. We graduate over 1,200 students a year, 37 different post-secondary credentials and foundational programs that we deliver. 95% of our graduates are employed or enrolled in further education. Workforce relevance is a real key focus for NorQuest College because we know that students don't come to us just because they want to get an education. They're coming to us to enhance their lives and strengthen the lives of their families and their communities. And that's where our discussion is going to focus on today. 55% of our students were born outside of Canada. It's the most diverse post-secondary I have ever stepped foot in myself. Diversity is everywhere within NorQuest College, and it's a real strength of what we have to offer our students, and something we're very, very proud of. 9% of our students are self-identified Aboriginal, Métis, or Inuit. And we know that the actual percentage is higher than that, but these are the folks that have actually identified for us. This past year, we went through a rebranding process because we wanted to get a better sense of who we are as an organization and what is our promise to the community. So we engaged hundreds of people, both inside the college, outside the college. We pulled in people that knew nothing about us, had some great dialogue, and built a new brand for the college. And our promise to our stakeholders and our promise to our community is maximizing opportunities that others don't see. And we see that there's a lot of opportunity and potential out in our communities, and that potential goes right down to the individual learner and right down to the individual person that's looking for opportunities within our economy. And NorQuest has done a lot of work over the years at maximizing opportunities for those folks, and that's something we're going to continue to do. We have had a lot of focus on Aboriginal student supports. We would say that we're very proud of the work that we do to support Aboriginal students. We know that providing supports ensures learner outcomes and more success for students. One of the key things that we are all about and that we are talking as part of our transformational change is focusing on workplace outcomes or workforce outcomes. In doing that, we've been connecting with industry quite aggressively over the last couple of years. And Gary Bosgood, who is here today, is a co-chair of this conference. He approached us and said, you know, he wants to see us develop an Alberta Aboriginal Construction Career Center. It's a concept that he worked to help get it created in Saskatchewan, and it's been extremely successful in Saskatchewan, and he's been floating this idea around for a number of years, trying to get somebody to pick up on it and make it happen here in Alberta. We have some challenges in Alberta because we don't have one institute that's right across the province to work with, but Gary's a pretty persistent guy, and he's been, again, pushing on both the post-secondaries and the government and to get traction from that as well. So last spring, he said, let's do this. Let's go out to Saskatchewan and visit the Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technology and talk about what they've put in place, because they've had over a decade of experience doing this. They've set up career centers across Saskatchewan. They've had amazing success with their career centers. And Gary gave us the overview of how this came about, And essentially, many companies working in Saskatchewan were noticing that it was very difficult to engage Aboriginal workers. They definitely wanted to employ Aboriginal workers on their construction sites, but they were having very difficult time actually getting them to apply. And then when they did apply, actually ensuring that those workers were successful on the job site and retained that workplace. So he sat down with the Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technology. They came up with a plan. 10 years later, they've put over 10,000 clients through the centers and have had amazing outcomes from the centers. So what better to do than to go down there and see what they've done and understand what successes they've had. I'm a big advocate of learning from those around me and taking the best ideas that are out there. So we got on a plane, we flew out to Saskatchewan, visited SIIT, and had a great day with them. They've been really supportive as I've liaised with them over this past year, and we're trying to essentially mirror what they did over in Saskatchewan. SIIT has 7 career centers in operation throughout Saskatchewan, and it's based on sort of a basic model where business and industry identifies the jobs, they register the jobs with the career centers. The career centers then build up a big database of potential clients that could do the work. Many of the clients, many of the Aboriginal workers that register within the system have educational gaps. The centers identify those gaps and then look for training or provide the training directly to the students and then get them prepared for those job opportunities. Because there's a collaboration between the employer and a collaboration with SIIT, excuse me, because of that, they've had a lot of very positive outcomes with their centers. Now, the centers have a lot of programming within each one of them. They have very specific programming. Links to employment is one. The job coaching, job matching that I just described is very important. Career planning and career counseling, apprenticeship and indenture placement, job readiness training, technical training, driver training, academic upgrading, skill development, safety training. The safety training, a lot of these things sound pretty basic, but they're actually very important because many people can't actually get onto a work site without some of the basic pieces, starting with the safety training. And then many of the other sites actually require the driver training as well. So they help fill in those skills gaps so that the students can be successful and actually get the employment. The job coaching, is one of probably the innovative features of the career centers in Saskatchewan. They assist clients with the development of employability skills, provide career guidance, overcome barriers to employment and training, and liaison with the clients and prospective employers. So this is one of the key focus in providing those job coaches that has made the career centers in Saskatchewan successful. I spoke earlier, and I think, let's see if I can get my numbers straight here. They've had over 12,500 clients registered in the centers since it was first created in 1998. So they've been up and running for 14, going on 15 years. 10,400 jobs have been secured through the career centers. Over 85% of the career center clients are Aboriginal. 45% of applicants are under the age of 30, so it's mostly for young workers. 3,000 clients have completed or enrolled in the skills training program, and 6,000 clients have completed the construction safety training systems program as well. So again, it's for our perspective here in Alberta, Saskatchewan has done something pretty impressive. Now, one of the strengths that they have in Saskatchewan is that they have one institute. The Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technology actually is a pan-province institution. So they could run these career centers in their 7 locations throughout the province. Here in Alberta, we don't have the similar type of institution that's set up. So we're trying to collaborate with different post-secondaries to try to get it off the ground here. So we are looking at creating the Alberta Aboriginal Construction Career Centers. The first interaction of this would be setting it up at Bow Valley College and NorQuest College. Those are the 2 similar post-secondaries in both of those centers, Bow Valley being in Calgary and NorQuest being in Edmonton. The idea between the 2 organizations was that we know we have a large urban Aboriginal population that we could service, and we know that both organizations also service the main areas outside the urban centers as well. We've listed our mission. Some of it's pretty straightforward. Increase the number of work-ready Aboriginal workers, address the workforce and training skills needs of urban, rural, remote, and young Aboriginal people in Alberta. Increase collaboration and improve coordination between industrial partners. That's an important one for us because we hear a lot, and Gary would say this as well, that almost every industry partner is saying, look, we'd love to employ more First Nations workers, but there's a lot of barriers that they find in terms of having success in that. So that collaboration between industry, post-secondary, and the clients is really key. To collaborate with First Nation and Métis leaders, Government of Alberta, educational institutions to achieve better outcomes for Aboriginal students. We have been in dialogue with the Government of Alberta and with the federal government on this program now. They're both really excited about the program, and they're excited because they love the idea of the collaboration that the program will be required to actually put together, which means a lot of dialogue, but at the end of the day, though, I think the different stakeholders are going to provide a lot of good resources for the program. They're going to be setting up a governance and oversight framework, which will include Aboriginal representation, which we know is critically important. We are just now in discussions with different communities to get their feedback and ensure that we can get and highlight the centers and the services that they're going to provide and make sure we can get the clients registered and participating. So we're hoping to set up a 2-year pilot project. We've approached the Government of Alberta with providing some funding for a 2-year pilot project. Interestingly, though, we haven't just gone out with cap in hand. We've indicated that business and industry, as I pointed to Gary, they're going to be on board with money to support this as well. The post-secondary institutions are coming on board with funding, and we're going to get support from the Aboriginal communities, not from funding, but from coordination and liaison and marketing the program to make sure that the clients know that we're there. I think what the province really likes is the fact that we set an objective for the 2-year pilot of providing counseling to 1,200 to 1,500 clients and job placements of about 1,000 clients within that 2-year period. So we've used the same kind of statistics that we saw happening in Saskatchewan. Our belief is that if we get this up and running, we should have the same kind of success. And as I mentioned earlier, the partnerships and investment, this is what governments are talking about these days, kind of that P3 concept, private government partnership. And so the post-secondary institutions, we're going to provide the facilities and the services. Business and industry is going to be there for us. Partners and sponsors as well, Government of Alberta and the Government of Canada. So right now, we are at the stage where we've got some really positive feedback, actually just a few days ago. So my team is now pulling together a detailed project plan. Our goal is to actually have this up and running this fall. The government's going to take a really close look at the project plan and flow us some funding, I think, very quickly to get it started. What we're going to need from the communities is, again, that liaison to make sure that they're promoting the centers to folks that could take advantage of the services. We're also going to need government or private sector to step forward and provide support through sponsorship funding, membership funding, and obviously the job placements as well.